We are bringing a knife to a knife fight, but we've got a gun. And I think that's what President Trump has to make a decision upon. And I'm all for striking Iran. I think they have badly overplayed their hand here. And I think the Admiral Brad Cooper, the head of Central Command, is going after targets that are directly impacting the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. All makes sense. But talk about bringing the gun to the knife fight. That is when we go after their economy, and that's going after Karg Island. And you heard President Trump kind of tease that out a little bit. And frankly, I don't think we're going to conquer Karg Island, but we could blockade it. That would be the end of the Iranian economy. I think you've got to go after economic targets. And the problem with doing that is the Iranian response. Will they then go after oil and gas facilities in Saudi Arabia and UAE? So it's not a great set of options, but I think compared to option one, Pontius Pilate, just walk away from it all. Option two, full-blown troops on the ground, massive military, not a very good option. I think option three is amp up the pressure, go after some economic targets, push them back to the negotiating table. Frankly, they've got a pretty good deal, and I think they're about to lose that opportunity. Hopefully those lights will go on in Tehran.
Well, first, before we get to Karg, if the intention with striking coastal cities' positions around the Strait of Hormuz is to eliminate Iran's ability to target shipping there, can that be done just from afar? Or do you need troops on the ground to do so? Because Iran has proven itself very resilient to threaten shipping, whether it be a combination of sea mines and drones and missiles fired from afar. Can you eliminate that danger without putting troops on the ground there?
I've gone through the Strait of Hormuz close to 100 times on Navy warships, both under attack from Iran and in other circumstances. We've been at this for 40 years in my career trajectory. And the short answer to your question is you can degrade their ability significantly, but you cannot, in this new era of drones, take away that ability. They can launch drones from hundreds of miles away. So going to be a very difficult proposition. You could up your chances by taking control of about 100 miles of Iranian coastline along the strait. Then the Iranians really would be down to drones. And that's pretty hard. You can defend against it up to a point. But boy, you don't want to get to those stages. Let's hope we can get to a negotiation and get Fred Pleitgen out of Tehran, for whom I have enormous respect for the reporting he is doing.
Fred, you heard Admiral Stavridis there describing the economic pressure point for Iran and the regime, including the possibility of shutting down its oil industry if the president were to order that. What is your sense being in Iran? I mean, is the population feeling the economic pressure? Do you sense the frustration at the regime bubbling over as a result of that?
Stavridis, for those kind words. First of all, yeah, they are definitely feeling the economic pressure. We speak to people here on the ground quite constantly. A lot of people who are saying right now it's very difficult to find jobs. Inflation is a huge problem. A lot of goods aren't as readily available as they were before. So certainly the population is feeling the pinch of the last 4 months of those military operations that have been going on. But they really have been feeling that pinch for an extended period of time. And I think one of the things that the leadership here in Iran believes is that they believe that the propensity to take pain on the part of the Islamic Republic, on the part of the population, on the part of the government here, that their pain tolerance is a lot higher than what the rest of the region is willing to endure. If you look at, for instance, countries and cities like Doha, like Qatar, if you look at the United Arab Emirates, a lot of them, of course, are built on international economies, are built on expatriates and people from abroad coming and working there. And the Iranians simply believe that they have the longer end of the stick if they're able to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That the Admiral said the Iranians definitely believe that they would be able to do, and then also project power into the region. And I think one of the things that the Iranians, they say themselves, have been trying to make clear is that in order to project that power, especially into the Strait of Hormuz, to stop shipping from going through there, they don't really need a lot of those coastal positions. They sometimes fire some of those missiles that endanger some of those shipping lanes from deep inside Iranian territory. So they certainly say the geography favors them. Kharg Island is another one of those things, by the way, where today a senior member of Iranian parliament said, look, if the U.S. wants to try and go there, the Iranians are going to defend that place. And it's going to be bloody for U.S. troops that are going to try and go on land there. So the Iranians are essentially saying, as far as the geography is concerned, as far as their population is concerned, Iran is there. Iran is not going to go away. And certainly Iran is a big factor with more than 90 million people to deal with.
Well, just ask the Ukrainians about how far you can fire drones deep inside an enemy territory and cause damage. Admiral Stavridis, before we go, you mentioned the prospect of the U.S. blockading perhaps or taking control or destroying facilities on Kharg Island. One danger with that, right, from the U.S. perspective is the effect on oil prices and therefore the effect on the U.S. economy and the president's own concerns about gas prices in this country and the political effect of that in the midterms. That has held him back from such an effort to date. That's something to consider for a president who might consider such action.
It absolutely is. And, see paragraph 1 about why this is not a really good option. But I think the range of possibilities of action for President Trump are narrowing. And he can, at this point, either come up with something to pressurize the Iranians to get to the table. But as Fred points out, they think they can take a lot of pain. And I think they can too. And don't forget, the protesters, the heart of that resistance, were killed in January when they shot down 40,000 of their own people. Those were the shock troops of the revolution. So there's not a lot of rise up at the moment in Tehran. And so I think President Trump has got a bad set of options, but if I were advising, I'd say start to go after more of those economic targets and hope you can push them back to the table.
Well,
That's the best of some bad options.
Exactly 1 minute past midnight here on the ground in Tehran. As you can see behind me here in the city itself, traffic is still fairly normal. We're not hearing any explosions or anything of that nature. It seems as though these airstrikes are going on once again in the south of Iran. And there's sort of some reports that we're getting in from official media, from government media, also from social media as well. And it seems as though some of these strikes, Jim, are once again, like they were yesterday, centered around the Strait of Hormuz, and that arch of the Strait of Hormuz, the northern tip of the Strait of Hormuz. There, of course, you have that port town of Bandar Abbas, which is used by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy. There's a big port there. And then there's Sirik, which is an island, or is a town, an island off the Strait of Hormuz. And there also, we've heard that some explosions have been happening there as well. Of course, we do have from CENTCOM that statement from U.S. Central Command that they are conducting these operations right now. What we've been hearing from the Iranians, they haven't officially commented on this, they haven't reacted to this yet, is they say that there is going to be a strong response coming from the Iranian side to any new attacks launched by the United States. The Iranians, of course, yesterday said that they also launched some attacks, some retaliatory attacks, after the U.S. bombed places in the Strait of Hormuz. And the Iranians certainly saying that a strong response will be coming to any military action taken by the United States, Jeff.